Thanks for making a date and welcome back to Business Live. Now, the IMF is confident government would be able to implement those critical measures to pass the program review test. This should pave way for the IMF board to approve disbursement of over $200 million to support the economy. There are fears the government may struggle with some prior actions which reports say may include increasing taxes and reducing borrowings. The IMF country representative Natalia Kolanida would, however, not confirm these reports when she spoke with George Riafe.
The IMF was reacting to reports that the board meeting might not come on as expected. This is because government is still struggling to meet some of the critical conditions that will pave the way for the IMF board to approve the disbursement of over $200 million to support the country's import need. But the IMF country representative Natalia Kolanida tells Joy Business they have made a lot of progress in their discussions with government.
I would say that revenue mobilization is very important, and I would say that it is not really ourselves who are driving now the program. The program is being driven by the government. And I know that the government is very much interested in stepping up its work on revenue mobilization. And you remember that they have already started implementing measures in terms of improving compliance last year. For example, they introduced paperless customs processing documents. They have been working on a number of issues, including improving the data, mechanizing the tax filing and processing of taxes. I think that these are all positive developments.
Despite this optimism from the IMF, it is still not clear for now whether the board meeting will come on as expected on April 9. On plans by government to issue $2.5 billion Eurobond before June this year, the IMF country representative says they have given their blessings to the move, but this should be subjected to meeting some critical conditions.
I would say more generally in April, because you know, George, that it is also related to our timeline in terms of producing documents, and you also know that at the time of the spring meetings and the annual meetings, board meetings are far and few in between, so it's quite difficult to schedule a board meeting on a specific day in April. So I would refrain to committing myself to any specific day.
Not putting yourself to the date, but I looked at the prior actions and I engaged some people in government, and what I get from them is that it's not possible for that meeting to come on April 9th.
Well, I am saying that I'm quite confident that we will have a board meeting in April.
But not April 9th.
Well, George, I'm telling you that discussions are still continuing, and we still need to reach final understandings on a few issues. So I think that it is premature to give you any exact date.
But April would happen, I should look at that.
I suppose so.
For some analysts, passing the 5th and 6th review is not just about the $200 million cash that will come from the IMF, but the signals that it will send to the country's development partners and investors across the world on their commitment to stabilizing the economy.
Now, some importers of electrical products are warning against massive layoffs should duties at the ports remain high. These importers, who form the Association of Electrical Dealers under the Ghana Union of Traders Association (GUTA), say the rise in import duties on electricals has shot up from 10 to 20% in just a year, a development which they say has resulted in the abandoning of loads of cargo at the ports. Charles Aite has more in this report.
The Ghana Union of Traders Association (GUTA) is not happy with what it describes as the insensitive increase in the number of duties at the ports. Members of the association and also some traders engaged in electrical businesses are threatening to shut down their shops in protest against the situation.
Astronomical hike on the levies and taxes is slap on the electrical materials at the ports. This is actually stifling our business, and so therefore we are calling on government to have a second look at a tax levy on imported cables and materials that we have been bringing.
We are rather losing by the day, because it's sort of like the things are already not moving, we are not selling. And you can imagine if I should pay more taxes on my goods, how am I going to sell them? because the market itself is, dormant. Nobody has the energy and then the strength to buy. The purchasing power is not there.
I have to tone down most of the actions, intended actions, and that's why when I heard that they were going to hit the streets and all that, I pleaded with them and then bring them all here to customs, to talk to customs, to see how best we can solve the situation. And fortunately, they were receptive. As to whether they will do what we are expecting is another thing.
It's very difficult to clear our goods nowadays. The values and the import duties, because for instance, the import duties, before we were paying 10%. Now they've increased it to 20%. And you can't add it to your costs. Because if you add it, your price will go up, your selling price will go up, and people will be complaining.
We employ and we pay taxes to support, but now, the percentage we pay for duties, we can't survive as a business. Some of us are closing our shops, laying the workers off. Where are we going?
So far, traders say the introduction of some 16 levies at the port, including the common external tariffs, is evidence of the unfriendly policies government is taking to generate revenue. Grave concerns there raised by members of the Electrical Dealers Association, bringing up questions as to whether or not this could affect their profit margins as well as shore up the unemployment development in the country. Of course, we do know that government is currently on an industrialization drive, and one may ask whether or not this development complements the move by government. We shall be following up to give you updates as and when. I'm Charles Aita reporting here in Accra.
Now, moving on, your budget for fuel consumption for each day is expected to remain unchanged at least for the next 2 weeks. This is because prices of petroleum products are likely to remain the same at the pumps until the end of the month. Let's get you more details on this good news.
Various calculations by Joy Business show that with the exception of LPG, that should witness about 3% jump in price per kilogram, petrol and diesel should just go up by under 1%. However, for most of the oil marketing companies that Joy Business engaged, they do not really think that for now this marginal increase should be passed on to the consumers, which should have resulted in some hikes at the pumps from this weekend. This would mean that a gallon of diesel or petrol should still be sold at the pumps at around 30 cedis. Well, for some, it's still never say never, as with the over 90 oil marketing companies in operation and with the current deregulation policy, not all these firms might hold their prices, as some could change their mind and hike the prices.
Now, many more women around the world are now getting involved in startup businesses. A recent report by MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs globally indicates that Ghanaian women topped the list of female entrepreneurs throughout the world. Our reporter Fozia to Adam samples one Ghanaian female entrepreneur, Rashida Sani Nasamu, and also the Chief Executive Officer of Iza Group, who is aspiring to cement her business on the international scene. That's part of our Ghana Month series, where the focus is on women who want to take their businesses a notch higher.
Meet Rashida Sani Nasamu, once a female morning show hostess on TV. She's now the Chief Executive Officer of Iza Group, which started as a strategic communications company. She tells Joy Business how she started it all as an entrepreneur.
I wouldn't say entrepreneurship was a movement. It had always been a part of me. I got to be an entrepreneur from the first day I got the clear understanding and definition of entrepreneurship, both in an academic point of view and a street point of view. I had always been an entrepreneur. I had this office when I was on TV. I did that alongside, and so much more, and much more of the diversified businesses we actually got into was done while I was still on set. So I started as a communications consultancy, a strategic communication consultancy. We've had quite a number of clients in and out, some who have come to stay, others that have come and gone as a result of the prescriptions of projects they actually have on board. And in the course of the climb, I won't say we are the zenith yet, but we've had to do strategic consultancy for blue chip organizations, both internationally and locally. In the course of the journey, we thought we should do a diversification.
Apart from consultancy, Rashida Nasamu is also into the construction industry.
I would call myself an infant businesswoman as far as construction is concerned. We just commenced and we've had quite a number of luxury homes we're selling and letting, but we really have not taken off yet as far as that is concerned. But I mean, it's diversification, so we just decided to get into it as well to complement other affiliates of the Isaac Group.
So if you are unemployed, waiting for some funds to start a business or waiting for government to give you a job, Rashida says you may not need money initially to begin.
I gave you a story during our last presentation of the woman who wanted to be a friend of mine who wanted to be an owner of a restaurant that could only be matched to the Papayas, and all she was waiting for was a huge amount to be handed over to her to be able to do that. And I said to her, look, you can start that by cooking for people who are in their homes, and the daily wonder is, what on earth am I supposed to be cooking for my family? Because women, urbanization is creating so much restricted times for women. People are working. The contemporary woman is so discerning and has an even distribution of her time between work and family. How are we supposed to put food on the table for our families that is supposed to be described or themed organic foods? You can start by doing that first, and then through that, you can make your own money to be able to open that big restaurant you're aiming for. So to every journey, in essence, there's supposed to be that first step, which is supposed to be a guiding ethos for us in case we're trying to get into businesses.
It's not all smooth sailing though, but the group CEO outlines how she handles some challenges.
I mean, challenges are in degrees, and to a large extent, if you call yourself an entrepreneur or someone who wants to get to the promised land, I've had quite a number of mentors within and outside of Ghana who I've always discussed my challenges with, especially when it comes to challenges that goes beyond my comprehension. I try to speak to people who have been in it for long, who are able to advise well enough to make sure that you just get over the challenges. And at all times there will be challenges. On a daily basis there are challenges.
According to Rashida, young ladies around the world must know their capabilities, identify their passions, and stay focused. Fauzia Adam for Joy Business.
And still on the Ghana Month series, a medical student, teacher, a businesswoman, and 5 others have teamed up to do business with their individual talents. Their passion? Music. Well, today we threw a spotlight on the uniqueness of this all-female local band as part of the Ghana Month series.
This is a typical ambience on a cool evening at a pub or bar. Live band performances like this are common these days. At the Plus 233 Bar and Lounge, enjoying the music as I waited to be served, I observed that the drummer was a woman. And then I realized it was an all-female band, the Lipstick Band.
The men, they are a lot. They're in the world. They are around. They play all instruments. There are numerous men who play, keyboard or bass or whatever. So with that, they can easily pick or change when they say today this person. But then with the women, it's not common, there are women. It's now that there are women, lots of women coming into the music, whereby they are not just singing, but then they are also playing instruments. Well, when you hear the word lipstick, what comes to mind? Women.
That's Sita, the leader and pianist of the band. Together with 2 guitarists, 3 drummers, and 2 vocalists, these women are making money from what they do best.
It's attractive to have have an all-women band, and most especially it attracts foreigners or tourists. They are excited when they get to see an all-women band, and so usually people want to use us for events, you know, because they know that it will catch attention.
That means the business is booming.
Yeah, right, very well. Quite recently, we performed at the Gaida program twice, and the first one was at the conference center, and then the second one was at the Presidential Palace.
With close to 15 performances a month, and each session going for 3,500 cedis, they earn, you do the math, but not forgetting the investment in band equipment at about 20,000 cedis. Interestingly, these women do not allow their daytime professions to conflict with their band duties.
Yes, I have one daughter.
And how is it as a mother and a band player? How is it?
Oh, it's not easy, but I manage. Yes.
I sell lace at the same time. Yeah.
And how is it to have a shop, do a business on the side of also being a part of a band? How do you manage the two?
I've managed it because my sister is there. So this job is my job and I love it. I want to do this job and I do this job for a long time. So that's what I'm doing. So for the lace, my sister is there, so I don't have to with.
I'm a medical student. To be honest, it's a very difficult question to answer, but what I would say is I take it one day at a time. I try to be where I'm supposed to be at every single time, and it means I have to put in extra hard work to do what I have to do here.
Music director Nana at the Plus 233 bar, where the Lipstick Band plays every Wednesday, explains why the bar has given the ladies a platform.
The novelty of it being an all-female band, and of course they are a very good band.
Some potential customers of the band could not hide their interest.
The Lipstick Band is fantastic. This is my first time I have witnessed a female band, so I recommend them to any occasion. They are very good.
And so every Wednesday, because of them, I'm here. Yeah. So I could say that for the past 6 years, I've been coming. Yeah. I spoke with my wife about them because we're planning to come down next year to celebrate my in-law's 70th birthday. So I have them in mind.
So as we celebrate Ghana Month, we are throwing light on women, Ghanaian women who are doing exceptional things and going the extra mile to make a mark in society. And today we have seen the Lipstick Band, an all-female band that is not deterred by what they do to follow their passion for music. Well, the music has already started, and who knows, maybe if I put on my lipstick, it will get me a spot on the band. Reporting for Joy Business, Karen Dodu.
Now, the Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative is engaging stakeholders in the middle belt of the country on the processes of beneficial ownership disclosure. Now, the move is expected to reiterate how disclosure of beneficial ownership information can be used to fight corruption in Ghana's oil and gas and mining sectors. Prince Apia reports.
Beneficial ownership has become a very critical indicator in the oil and gas industry the world over. And today, stakeholders are meeting in Kumasi to, think about how to pass the beneficial ownership law and all that. We have currently one of the officials of the program, and we'll speak to him briefly. His name is Samuel Bequin. Samuel Bequin, thank you for joining us on Joy News. Tell us, why this particular engagement with stakeholders?
Thank you, Prince. Beneficial ownership has become a very pertinent indicator for the oil and gas sector, and even mining as well, as you said. Currently, beneficial ownership disclosure was part of the EITI standard of 2016, which says that every country who is part of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative is supposed to actually pass a beneficial ownership law by 2020. At the same time, the Financial Action Task Force, under which Interaction Agency Against Money Laundering, which is GIABA in Africa, also requires Ghana to pass a beneficial ownership disclosure law. Not just the international sort of requirement or commitment that we've made already. There is also important that beneficial ownership has been identified as a key tool for fighting corruption. In that, if we're able to disclose persons who hide behind businesses or legal entities to engage in corrupt practices and also abuse of power, as well as circumventing around legal processes, I think it is key that if we have their names disclosed, it will deter such actions. The cost to not having a beneficial ownership is tremendous. We have the Africa Progress Panel, who had done a study in 2011 to say that Africa loses about 79 billion to illicit financial flow, and most of them was found to be because of hidden ownership using shell companies, hiding behind shell companies registered in tax havens to be able to siphon money outside of Africa. With the beneficial ownership disclosure, it will help to disclose persons hidden behind some of these paper companies and shell companies. And I think though we are not even looking at just the commitment, we are looking at the benefit that beneficial ownership disclosure can bring to Ghana, and also tag along with the current fight against corruption. Even in our local sort of milieu or environment, we know that a lot of people in public positions and trusted would actually set up companies without using their name, come back and win contracts for themselves.
The Ghana Free Zones Authority says it is currently in the process of reviewing regulatory legislation to make it more investor-friendly. A stakeholder meeting is to be set up for free zone enterprises to make inputs for the proposed amendments. Chief Executive Michael Ochrebefi says the law in its current form has been outmoded. He was addressing executives of free zones enterprises in Kumasi.
That we have
the Free Zones program is a government policy to promote export-oriented investment. The meeting was part of a scheduled nationwide roadshow by the Free Zones Authority to discuss issues peculiar to each region. CEO Michael Ochrebefi emphasizes the need to amend the law regulating the authority's operation.
The concept has been there for the last 20 years, and the concept have not seen any amendment. Other institutions of government that do similar, jobs. We do related business with them, like GIPC, GEPA. They have done amendments to their act, but we have not. We think that the act has become very outmoded, and we need to make it relevant to modern day business, so that people who do business with the Free Zones Authority will see that we are serious to do business with them.
Under the Free Zones program, businesses must add value and export at least 70% of their annual production. The program combines both the enclave and single factory enterprise schemes to make the whole country accessible to potential investors. Mr. Ochrebefi says it is imperative to strengthen local businesses to compete on international markets.
There are a lot of benefits in joining the Free Zones program. If you join the Free Zones program, government consciously will give you 10 years tax holiday. 10 years tax, corporate tax in Ghana is 25%, and government will give you 10 years tax holiday, which is very phenomenal. With this, you can be able to get a lot of money which can be plugged back in business, and it will help you. Even after the 10 years, you will not even pay the 25%, but you pay 15%, which is good.
Meanwhile, the board is considering a new unit at the Secretariat to assist companies in the oil and gas industry. A research and business development unit is already in place to conduct market intelligence to encourage companies to explore markets beyond the traditional space. Prince Apia reporting.
Time now for our interview of the day. And in recent times, various financial institutions have been adopting new digital marketing strategies to become relevant and highly competitive in the banking sector. The latest to go this year is Standard Chartered Bank. Its Executive Director of Retail Banking West Africa for Standard, Henry D.K. Bai, has been outlining to Joy Business how much of a priority financial technology is to its expansion drive.
The future for digital marketing for your bank?
So in Standard Chartered, we believe that, first of all, we're quite sure that digital is the way of banking, not in the future, but in the past, today, and going forward. I'm saying that because already there are many institutions and that are already late in getting on the bandwagon. So we believe that it is the way of banking, not just because it's innovative, it's nice, it's the thing to do, but it's because that's the way our clients want to do banking. That's the way our clients want to do financial transactions. That's the way our clients are living their lives today. And as banks, we've got to go the way our clients are going. So that's the first point. The second point is we believe there is a big ecosystem of many players in the whole financial space. That includes telcos, that includes fintechs, that includes payment card organizations. All of these are organizations, and of course definitely banks and other financial institutions. They are all part of one big ecosystem. I think for us as a bank, we believe we need to evolve in our thinking from seeing other players in the ecosystem as competitors and rather see them as complements to what we do for the client. So I think in our thinking, we must collaborate with all of these institutions to make sure we deliver what our clients are looking for.
And this is where we draw the curtains down on this edition of Business Live, and of course for the week. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Thanks so much for your company, and do have a great weekend. Good evening.